So let's cover the email marketing process. Okay, let's talk about the email marketing process a little bit. So if you remember, we started this whole discussion around the fact that what does what does our marketing plan look like, and how do we approach our target consumer? What's our goal there? Well, our goal is to take them through the buyer behavior, the customer journey funnel. And if you remember, buyer behavior sort of ties into this consumer journey, and the consumer journey starts with a problem or a need to be filled, right? And our first goal is to create awareness so that we get our consumer aware of who we are so that we could take them through this consumer funnel, which is important. That's part of the process. So now, once we get them through that, we want them to really start considering who we are as marketers, what our product and service is, and then eventually get them to convert to buy product, right? To get them to create that conversion so we get sales, generate revenue. And then after that, we keep them on the retention process because hopefully they buy again and again and again. That's how we build our business. And then from there, we take them into the brand advocacy, the brand champion. So that is really our goal. And we can use email marketing along that journey to keep our consumer engaged at different levels. And right now, email marketing is a very valuable tool that we can use because A, it's cost effective, right? It doesn't cost us anything really to keep our email marketing list together. It doesn't cost us anything to send out an email. It may cost us something on the email providers, of course, and there's labor hours involved in the creative and things of that nature. But you're not paying for an ad. You have a really retained database, a customer base, which is phenomenal, and it's effective because people are responding to emails now more than ever. So it's a great way to immediately grow your business. So the first thing you need to do, if you're not doing it right now as a business leader or as a digital marketer, is make sure you have a strong email list and start to market to that email list. That will generate revenue for you that you never recognized before. And that's important. And to me, that's one of the easiest ways to get your consumers engaged and to create better, long-lasting customers. What is email marketing then? We looked at some of the process already. We know that we need to build brand awareness. We know that we need to nurture these consumer relationships. We know we need to generate leads, and we know we want to motivate our customers to come back and take actions because those actions that they take benefit the business, right? That helps us grow the business. So in short, the benefits of email are the fact that we can have both transactional and commercial communications. We know it's low cost. We know it's easy to measure. Why? Because we can see the open rates and the click-through rates, and all that is very visible. We know that it has a high return on investment. We know we can reach consumers that maybe we haven't even communicated with in some time, which would be a shame. But if we have their email address, we can at least reach out to them. It's real time, it's up to the second, and it's also personalized. And we can use different approaches when we send out emails. So it does have a lot of benefits. So what I would recommend now, if you're not working an email list, or if you're not managing an email list and you plan to put things together, understand that the email list could be one of your most valuable assets that you have as a marketer. So if we think about the process of emails, we know that it could be quite complicated. It's no longer in the past where we might have had a small business, and some of us remember the days where we actually sent out a broadcast email from AOL, if you remember that way back when, or even now from Outlook or Gmail, and we blind copy everyone, right? And that's sort of a way of emailing the entire group of people you have and know and that do business with you or work from you, and you're sort of not sharing out emails, and you think that that's a way of communicating. Well, that is a way of communicating, and some companies, some marketers still do that. And I really don't recommend that. I think that's really a bad idea, in fact. But the best way to manage your email list is to use someone like an ESP, which is an email service provider. And those are companies like MailChimp, like Constant Contact, right? Like Emma, things like of that nature, where they provide a service that you're able to keep your email database with them. You can even upload it or you create actionable contact list or subscription list, and they help manage your email program, your email list, which is great because there are regulations that we have to make sure we're following. And most of these ESPs, these email service providers, help us keep track of that. And it's really not that complicated. One thing you shouldn't do that a lot of people think they can do is once you get an ESP, you upload all your emails if you have some, and then you start email marketing to them. You can do that, but that's really not the best way to do it. The best way to do that, if you have a list and you're looking to get an ESP involved, you can upload your list, create an email saying we're renewing our subscription list or updating our subscription list. Please opt in here. Give them that double opt-in option to subscribe again, and now you officially have their opt-in, their double opt-in through the ESP, and now it's better than not having that authorization to go ahead and email them. But an ESP is great because it will help you create different campaigns. You can send different emails based on user and segmented behavior. You can create automated emails, which are phenomenal, personalized emails, and then the best part of using an ESP is you can look at the analytics. So you can actually see when someone opens an email. You can actually see how many people don't open the email. You can actually see the trail of how you're successful, and you could A/B split things and get a good idea of what works and what doesn't work. So if you have an existing email list, make sure you get an ESP to help you manage that. But if you upload an existing list, make sure that you create a way for the existing email subscribers to opt in if they haven't done so in the past. And then use your ESP to segment your audience, to create emails based on behavior, likes, and interest, to create automated emails, to create personalized emails. And then when you send the emails, use the ESPs to help you analyze the data. So one thing to keep in mind with email that's really important to understand, and we're not going to cover all the do's and don'ts right now, but there are regulations. So there are regulations to emailing and subscription list. So you really need to make sure that you understand the type of email you're sending out. So there's commercial and transactional emails, and we'll cover that here in just a minute. But most emails, if not all emails, will be regulated under what we call the CAN spam laws. And these are outlines and regulations that manage the distribution of your email and the content, and especially commercial emails, things of that nature. And remember, this law is probably important to understand because it does have an impact, and there could be a costly ramifications of moving outside of that can spam law. So we need to make sure we understand the regulations around sending those emails before we go out and send them. Um, Remember that you really need to have what we call that double opt-in. That's part of the regulations. We need to make sure that we're not sending fictitious or fraudulent or bait and switch type things. We need to make sure that we're not, for instance, marketing to children or sending inappropriate material and things of that nature. Some of those laws and regulations might be common sense, but we need to keep this in mind. And then there's also other laws that you should be familiar with. You have the European Union, which is the GDPR regulation. So if you're doing email marketing for Europe, you need to keep that in mind. You also have in Canada the Castle regulations, and those regulations are even more restrictive, even more stronger regulated than our U.S. can spam laws. So you have to be very particular there with those type of with emails that you send out. Now, if you fail to comply, or you do things that you shouldn't do, you can get a serious fine, and it could be very costly. And then of course, if it's on a large scale, you could ruin your reputation or destroy your customer goodwill, which will be horrible. So you have to be very careful when it comes to that. So it's not just an open platform where you could just stick a name in a toolbox and send out an email. You do need to make sure that you have a clean list. It's an opt-in list, and you're following the regulations that apply to your particular country. Okay. So let's talk about really the two types of emails that get sent out. And one of them is what we call transactional emails. And the transactional email is really a functional email. They're generally sent to one person. Okay, so if you have something coming through shipping, or if you have some type of transaction going on, you're getting that one individual email. It's transactional. There's some type of transaction happening. That's one email that you can send out. Now, the majority of emails that go out, if you're a marketer, if you're a business leader, are commercial emails. So these commercial emails really have the content that you're trying to market programs and services for, right? So you're advertising a product or a service, and that falls into the commercial email bucket. So when we talk about the CAN spam laws, you need to make sure you understand transactional emails versus commercial emails. And of course, setting up each email, there's a different rhythm, a different cadence, different type of content that you would use, and you have to understand that as well. But they're both tools that we use as marketers to help connect to our customers. Let's look at the basic principles of email marketing, okay? And what we try to do here is understand how we could break down email marketing in categories and buckets that we can manage and process. So the first category, the first part of email marketing is segmentation. Segmentation is important because we want to be able to fine tune and direct the emails that we have to our particular target audience. You may have a list of 1,000 names, but let's say out of those 1,000 names, maybe some of them bought, let's say you're a clothing store. You sell women's clothing and men's clothing. Let's make it simple. Out of 1,000 names, you might have 800 women and 200 men. Well, if you're putting men's workout clothes on sale, you may not want to send them to the women unless the women purchase clothing for men and you have that flagged, right? That would make sense. So you want to segment them down into useful characteristics. And you could do that through that email service provider that I was referencing earlier and in your opt-in list. So when they make a purchase, you can sort of filter them. And I would suggest doing that immediately or every time you refresh your list, because segmentation will allow you to send out relevant emails and content to that target audience. And that's important because I could be, I could shop. Let's take a grocery store, Publix, as an example. I shop at Publix. Maybe you shop at Publix. I happen to buy groceries based upon a certain, let's call it main list of items, right? Eggs, bread, milk. And maybe you buy groceries based on produce and meat, that type of thing. And you can actually segment the list that way so you know how to market to each individual characteristic. So you can sort of bucket your emails and segment your emails appropriately so you can send out that relevant content, because that's the goal of segmentation. Now, the next principle of email marketing would be personalization. So isn't it great when you get an email, and I know it's all automatic, and we know all this right now. Hey, Ken, Professor Ken, guess what? We have your favorite shoe is on sale for $89. Save $50 for this Black Friday deal or something like that. Customize email content that includes information that relates to me as a user, and maybe because we segmented, we could be smart in our customization, and you can show me all the things like, okay, I'm a Miami Marlin fan, I'm a New York Met fan. Show me things, new jerseys, new hats, new shirts for the Miami Marlins and the New York Mets, but I don't really like the New York Yankees, so I don't want to see anything about the Yankees, right? Because that doesn't do anything for me. So you can personalize that information and send it to me. So that's where you gain this one-on-one engagement by using that personalization. The next principle is what we call automation. Now, this is an incredible tool because while you're sleeping at night, you have this automated system set up where if anybody contacts you, they get an automated email, and that information goes out right away. For my businesses, I use automations immediately, and then I follow up with a personal email in most cases, and then it's sort of a double piece of communication, double layer of communication they get. So automation allows you to be more effective because you're reaching the right people at the right time, right? When you jump on the website, or now when you go into the chat, if you go into my chat online for my company, you might get an email saying, hey, thanks for joining us in our chat, how we're doing, maybe a quick survey. Would you like to subscribe to our newsletter, things of that nature, and you start reaching out to them automatically to begin that engagement, which is great. So this automation is a wonderful tool because it saves you time, it saves you money, and you get better engagement. So that's really the goal of automation. And then lastly, and we talked about this previously, is the data analysis. Everything we do in marketing has to be measured, right? Everything we do in marketing has to be measured. So we do something once and we see how it did. We go back and look at that to make sure that it makes sense for us and maybe make it better, because that's our goal. It's a circle, a circular motion, right? We create something, we send it out, we get the feedback, and then we make it better. We create something that's better, we send it out, we get the feedback, and we make it better. And we keep doing that circular motion until we get to that optimum conversion that we're looking for. And that data analysis will help us make informed choices. It'll help us improve our email and get better every single time. So if you're sending out emails and you're not looking at your analysis, then you're just wasting your time. I want to send out an email and I want to understand what happened with that email. Who opened it? Why they opened it? When they opened it? Did they click through to that particular page? Things of that information, that's all important to me. And I need to know that as a marketer, because when I know that information, I can be better at what I'm doing. So let's talk about campaigns and how we use emails effectively. Most of us understand that we have this thing called drip campaign. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we are dripping slowly. Imagine a water faucet, drip, 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 right? You see one drop at a time come out. That's where that the name comes from. It's a drip campaign. So you're getting one email at a time, just like you would be getting one drop of water at a time. It's dripping to you. And eventually, it'll be enough information that perhaps you'll take some action. So it's good because we don't want to get bombarded with emails as consumers, and as marketers, we really shouldn't, send out too many emails. But we have to maintain our list, and we have to be able to reach our email list on a regular basis. So we drip emails out to them. Now, there's different timings to different campaigns. And it could be anywhere from a day after to 3 days after to 7 days after to 30 days after. It will vary by company and by structure. There are some best practices there that I shared with you previously. So in concept, in theory, here's the type of drip campaigns that you really need to keep in mind. One, you want to nurture your leads. So when someone joins you, you welcome them, you onboard them, you get them to know a little bit more about the company. Remember, you're bringing them through that consumer funnel. And then you also have something called abandoned shopping carts, which means if someone goes in and puts something in their shopping cart, but they don't convert, they don't make the final purchase, you send them an email to remind them, hey, Professor Ken, thanks for visiting our store. You remember you left something in your shopping cart. It's still there. Take advantage while we have it in stock, something like that. Maybe 2 days later, you say, hey, Professor Ken, come back and buy what you left in your shopping cart, and now you will give you a 10% discount to do that. That doesn't do anything for me. Maybe I don't go back. And maybe the third day you say, hey, this is your last chance to get that product. It's still in stock. We'll give you 10% discount plus free shipping if you spend more than $50. Maybe that brings me back to make the purchase. So that's a drip campaign. That's what that would look like. You also could send out recommendations about past purchases and buying behavior, maybe make suggestions that they come and they make similar type of purchases, right? Always try to be involved. I'll give you an example. I just made a purchase, and my first time I made a purchase from Wayfair, which is a large e-commerce company, right? One of the largest out there, and they do house goods and furnishing goods and things of that nature. So I never made a purchase before, and I just made a purchase. In fact, I bought a couple of items. One of them just landed here at the door, got delivered today, and I just ordered it last week. From the time I ordered to the time the delivery, they sent me 4 emails on things that I might like also. That type of, and that's email marketing in this best practice. Plus, they sent me the confirmation email. They sent me the hey, your product's on the way email, and now today they sent me your product got delivered email. Tomorrow I'll probably get please let me know how you did, that type of thing. So that's how you use this email marketing effectively. You can also send out renewal emails that remind people, hey, you have to renew. It's time or almost time to renew something, your subscription or something like that. And then, of course, we have confirmation emails that encourage customers to look into buying similar items and keep buying information and keep buying items rather and send out information to them. You also have the unsubscribes. Maybe you want to re-engage the user or maybe just collect information when they unsubscribe. And then you have what I call celebration emails. You can send out emails that celebrate their anniversary with you as a customer or their birthday, or if you know more personal information. So we use all these techniques to create this communication through email marketing with our consumer. And every time we do that, it gets us closer and closer to that consumer, so maybe we can convert them into more business. Okay, now let's look at the big part of email marketing, and that's the metrics. Every time we send out an email, we have to get some measurements. We have to understand why that email is good or why that email is not good, why it worked, and what can we do to make it work better. Now, I truly believe there's no right or wrong in marketing. There's things that work and there's things that, don't work so well. So if they don't work so well, it's our responsibility to understand why they didn't work so well. And then it's our responsibility to make it better. So we do it again and we improve it, right? Because you cannot just send out one email and then end it there, because that's not smart. You have to send out a couple to really get the sense of what's happening. And nothing happens with one email. Very few things happen with one email, unless you say the first person to respond to this email gets $1 million. I'm sure even then you probably wouldn't get a response quick enough, right? So let's look at the metrics. Now, the metrics are all dependent upon what you as a marketer, as a business leader, want to see in the understanding of how you're sending things out. But here are some basic metrics that I think most of us would like to see. Number one, it's your click-through rate. So your CTR. What is the percentage of recipients that actually click on a URL in that email? Remember, we're sending out that email and we're taking them somewhere, taking them to a landing page, taking them to a specific product. We want to see what that CTR rate is to know if that was successful or not. And by the way, we are probably A/B splitting that, which means we send one with a subject line A and then one with a subject line B and try to understand which one gets a better metric on our results, okay? We'll talk more about that a little further on. We want to look at open rates. Quite simply, how many people opened the email message, right? Was it effective? Did people open it? Did people look at it? What about the unique open rates? So that's the percentage of unique recipients that open out of the total emails delivered in a campaign. So we want to look at the uniqueness there to make sure we're understanding. What about the delivery rate? So how many emails were actually sent successfully? If we send 100 out and only 98 was sent successfully, we know that 2 of them, 2%, was not good. We got bounce backs. We have to clean our list. So that means we have this bounce rate. So we have to look at how many emails were not actually delivered. And then we also have what we call the unsubscribe rate. That's the percentage of recipients that unsubscribe from an email list. Now, here's something to keep in mind. Expect email lists to get people to unsubscribe, rather. Expect people to unsubscribe from your email list. That is going to happen. It could happen at the rate of 5% a month, 5% a year, 10%, 15%. Now, if it happens at like 20, 30, 40% every single time, that could be a problem. So I would look into that. But single digit unsubscribe rates and maybe even low double digits like 10 or 15, that's probably manageable. But it's only manageable if you're growing your list quicker than you're losing these unsubscribes. So remember, always build your list, because it's guaranteed you will lose subscribers. Guaranteed. So if you have 10 today, you might only have 7 tomorrow, which means you need to be figuring out a way to get those 3 that dropped back into your funnel. And that's the idea. You always want more consumers. You always want more opportunities coming into that consumer funnel, because we know um, people are going to unsubscribe. We know that people are going to change emails. We know that people are going to move on. So that attrition rate is leaving. They're leaving. So now we have to have new consumers come in, and that's the rotation, right? That's the rotation that we have to expect, especially in email marketing. So let's talk about list segmentation. And this is important now, because when we think about list segmentation, we want to focus on how we're breaking down our target audience and making sure that that message is relevant to that target audience. So we might have a list of 100 names. Let's divide that list of 100 names into smaller, manageable lists that all have the same characteristics, that all have the same type of content related type of opportunities. Because now, if we have a well segmented list, we know that we can send out enriched, personalized content to that list that means something to them. It's meaningful to them, which is great, because a well segmented list means you'll get higher response rates, which also means you'll get fewer unsubscribes, which means you also won't have to worry about spam. And the best part of all is that a good segmented list most likely will generate more conversions for you, which mean more dollars. And that's what this is all about. So that's why it's important to make sure your list is clean, it's scrubbed, and it's segmented, and it's all relevant, and it's timely. Do it on a regular basis. Make sure you're scrubbing your list, you're segmenting your list on a regular basis. You have new subscribers come in. Make sure you're putting them into the right spots, the right list, and you're building up the list that shrink, and you're trying to keep that moving, so you build your business and you build your email list on a regular basis. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about list management. So there's two types of list managements here that we have to think about. One is creating what we call a suppression list. The suppression list is a list that contains all the emails that we don't want to send to. Now, why do we keep that? We keep that only because we don't want to have that duplicated in our real list, right? So these are important because these will help us comply with all the email marketing regulations. So most likely these are your unsubscribes that you have to keep control over, because that's important. So we suppress them. We take those unsubscribes and we suppress them. We don't send them out. The other part of list management is this list hygiene I've been talking about. We need to make sure that we have a good practice of keeping your list up to date and keeping it viable. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by removing bounced emails. We do that by removing the emails that we get low engagement rates after X amount of months. We do that by taking out all duplicative addresses. We do that by removing and updating addresses when we can. We do that by making sure we're getting the change addresses taken care of. And we're also on a regular basis, maybe every 6 months or so, verifying permission from the subscriber. That's list hygiene. And that's important because you're managing an asset here. If you have 1,000 names and 990 of them are good names, that means there's 990 opportunities for you to make a sale. But if you have 1,000 names and you haven't managed that list and only 200 of them are actually good, that means you just knocked out 80% of that list. And that's useless to you, because now you think about the business you're losing by not maintaining a good, healthy list. So list hygiene is important. List management is important. Make sure you put this into a regular practice. And I would say every 6 months, you should try to update your list and manage your list appropriately. and make sure things are not moving, and you're managing it and you're monitoring all the changes in your list so that when you do send out an email, you're right on target. Remember that we need the subscriber to opt in. In fact, I think it's a good idea to always have that double opt-in option. Most of us now are using these email subscriber programs, which are great. They will help you manage all that. So make sure you set that up. If you have an existing list, make sure you get them to double opt-in into the new platform. And one great thing that you can do to get new subscribers is to offer an incentive to join. You know, discounts go a long way. Free shipping goes a long way. Things, special announcements go a long way. Give them a reason to be part of your list. Give them a reason to opt in, and let's build that list. Now, keep this in mind. Every time you get a new name on that list, it's a potential sale. So the less opportunities you have to get names on that list, that means it's not a potential sale. And the way I try to have all my clients visualize this is, imagine you had a storefront and you just waited for people to walk in, right? And people just walk in and then they walk out, or they walk by the store, they never come in. That doesn't do anything for you because you're not creating any sales. That's why having your future consumer opt in to get more information about you, to bring them through that consumer funnel, is important, because now you at least have a contact that you can possibly convert and make a customer. Yesterday, you didn't have that contact. So today's a better day than yesterday. But if you don't aggressively go out and try to get that contact, then you're going to be in the same position, and you'll never be able to grow your email list. You'll never be able to grow your business, and then that could be a problem. Think about these terms. If you, and it's just a strange thing I have to share with you. I had, we're still in the pandemic times, and of course, e-commerce has been phenomenal right now and doing leaps and bounds. I had someone reach out to me, a future customer, a client of mine, reach out to me, and they were in business for 15 years, and they needed me to help them optimize their website and work on their social media and things of that nature. I said, sure, I'll be happy to do that. And that's what I do. Okay, that's great. And in my interview with them, I said, the best way to really get this thing kicked off is to maximize and optimize your email list, your contact list. How many names do you have on your email list? Now, this is a business that's been around for 15 years now. They said to me, I do not have an email list. Now, I get it. They're not really, online savvy and e-com savvy. I get all that. So my follow-up question was, okay, I get it. You don't have an email list. I mean, that's a shame. You should have one, and we'll get you there. But what about a contact list? What about like names and phone numbers and email, physical addresses? Do you have any of that? He goes, well, the last time we did that was like 10 years ago. And we found out that, people don't respond to direct mail, and we stopped taking all that stuff. I said, okay, well, that's a shame, because now you have no way of contacting anyone who's bought anything from you in the last 15 years. That's a problem. So you don't want to be in that spot. And that's why this email list management is really important.